All right, team, I'm going through how to do a BPI, a burning platform issue. I'm going off the cuff here. We're going to go as if you were live with them. So just take it like that. Before you get into the SMT meeting, the senior management team meeting, you want to make sure you go through the BPI with your own paperwork with the person who you want to be up there with the marker, so that they know what to expect. They're not caught off guard. They're not going to say things that you don't expect either. You need to know what they're going to be saying. So there's some preparation involved that's really important. Keep that in mind. Okay. When I was with this framing company, $14 million company a year, 140 employees, but their net profit was near zero, like $112,000 a year with all they had. So they needed to get a lot more net profit. They needed to learn how to keep more of the money that they were selling and earning. So one of the issues was, how about productivity? How about labor productivity? Of 140 employees, that's a lot. That's a big chunk of your money going out the door. How do we get more work out of those guys? Every company talks this way. They all want to get better productivity with their labor. This is where we started. And I said, what about KPIs, key performance indicators? So performance indicators of like measurement to make sure we know that what we want to get done is getting done. So some kind of a measurement to know that the work that we want done is getting done. Do they do that? And they said, well, we did them, but they didn't work. We did them for a month. They didn't work. That's the only feedback I got. Well, what I heard, which is important for you guys to say what you hear, what I heard was they didn't know how to track. They didn't do it consistently over time. Maybe the KPIs they created were not measuring the right thing. Whoever was in charge, if anyone was, to measure them wasn't following through, and they weren't then reporting back to the workers on how they did. I mean, the whole process was just didn't work, right? So it's our job as consultants to help them institute a system that does work. And so I said, well, you guys did do KPIs. You thought it was important. It didn't work, but do you actually believe that it is important? Like, do you think it would improve productivity? Now, I didn't tell them it would. I asked them if they thought it would improve productivity. Well, yeah, we do believe that. Yeah, we believe it would, but we just couldn't implement it. Maybe our guys, maybe they don't work that way. Maybe it doesn't work with our company. We don't know. I'm like, okay, but if we could do it effectively with the right things being measured, things that you want them to have measured, just the fact that you're measuring them now, you think that would increase people's productivity? Like, for instance, if you're measuring how many hours it takes to put up one wall of framing, and they did it in 15 minutes less because they were being measured, and they had a goal, and they had a time frame, they might get them done quicker. Not every time, not 100%, not all the guys. Some of the guys are working like hardcore. Some of the guys are a little bit more lax. But as an average, across the board, do you guys think that your people would get done a little bit faster just because we're measuring them on something? Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so, they said. Yeah, okay, yeah. I said, how much percent? Right now they're working 100%, but if we institute a measurement, a KPI, how much more will they get done? How much faster? What additional productivity would occur? And this guy says, 20% better, for sure. At least 1 hour out of 5 better. This one says 50%. 50% is wrong. I'm just going to tell you, it's wrong. I told the lady, I said, no, you're wrong. And I was like, it's jovial. We try to keep it fun in there. We're not trying to be specific or precise or perfect. Not perfection, progression. That's our phrase. Not perfection, progression. We're going to move in the right direction. 50% is the wrong direction. But 20%, this guy says 10%. This guy over here says 0%. It won't change anything. It's fine answer. We don't know for sure. But what do we as a management team of the 5 of us, we got 100 hours of framing experience in here. What do we think it's going to go up? And they balanced and hemmed and hawed, and they said maybe 8% we can feel confident in. 8% better improvement. We can feel confident in that. Yeah. And I said, well, the national average for union, carpentry, framing companies of, 100 over 100 employees, if they institute KPIs they didn't have before, AI is telling us that we're going to get a 6% increase. So you guys saying 8% is right in line. Do we want to say 6? Do we want to say 8? Do we want to say 10? What do we think our goal should be for our team? Everybody said, well, let's go with the AI. We're just guessing here at 8%. Let's say 6%. Let's be ultra conservative. That's what they said. And most owners and senior management teams will do that. They'll be on the conservative side on these numbers. To me, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's 2%. I don't care what they say. I just want them to say something. Okay? It doesn't matter the number. Keep this in mind. But they said 6% increase up here in productivity. All right? And I said, all right, so let's quantify that. And this is important. When you're doing BPIs, what you're doing is you're quantifying the actual issue. You're taking it from an emotional, just didn't work, I guess, to a quantified dollar amount that we lost. What was the impact? The real impact in this was 6% times, well, we do 60 houses a month, okay? 60 houses, okay? And we spend about 200 hours a house, manpower, 200 hours, okay, each, times, well, you know, our labor burden, which is the entirety of the cost of the labor, the hourly rate, the union dues, the FICA matching, the whole thing, right? The benefits packages comes about $68 per hour per worker. And then that's times 12 months a year equals. Now, if you have any kind of elementary school math, you know this means a lot. This means a lot of money. I'm just going to go to my phone here. It says $538,000. $538K. All right. I didn't even go to the penny here because it doesn't. We're not being precise. Not perfection, progression. And this is getting in the right progression. You want to know why? Because immediately they went like this. Man, we got to get that money, which is what you want them to do. One guy said, 6%, 200 hours, that's only 12 more hours improvement. We can get 12 hours out of our teams. A 200-hour job, we get 12 hours improvement out of them. That's not a big deal. We can totally do that. If we started measuring them and pushing them a bit, they might do an extra hour a day for one guy. And then you made your money already. You made your time. They were convincing themselves. They were talking themselves through it. They were giving me the numbers. I didn't make these numbers up. They said 200 hours. They said $68. I don't know what their labor burden is. So this is their numbers with their issue and how they feel productivity can go up. They thought 8%. So they're even on the shy end, the conservative end. And I said, man, this is key. This is key. I said, man, do you believe this? Do you believe that we actually are losing $500,000 in productivity that we're paying out the door because we're not measuring our people? And they said, yeah, we do believe it. Right now, we're kind of breaking even. Who can do that when you make $14 million in revenue? Who can break even? We got to do stuff. We got to do stuff different. We got to do stuff better. And yeah, this is a good step. I didn't tell them they have to believe it. They told me they believed it. I'm only asking questions. So I said, well, how then do we get the money? What do we do to actually realize this cash? And they said, well, we got to go out there and yell at those guys. And I said, well, no, you can do that. You can. But what you want to do is you probably want to measure something that will get you the result you want. Well, yeah, that's true. They thought it was instinctual, like it was unspoken obvious. Watch out for that. You want to speak the obvious. So I said, okay, so we need to actually pick the right things to measure. Okay, so we're going to pick right thing to measure. Okay, good. That's good. I like it. What else? Well, that's all. Well, what about telling your team that they have to do it and training them on doing it, that you're going to start watching this, we're going to measure it. How about doing the training, educating the team? Well, yeah, that goes without saying. Well, yeah, but let's just write it down. Okay? So train teams. Crews, as they would call them, crews. Okay. What else? Are there any other things? Any other things that we need to do to make sure we get these KPIs that do work this time? And they said, I don't know. And they shouldn't know. This is new to them. This is where you can give them ideas. So, well, what about this? What about we're going to pick the right things to measure, and we're going to train the teams. Let's at least create a dashboard that keeps track of this. Let's put it somewhere that we know we're going to always go to, and there's the answer. Okay, so we're going to create a dashboard. Now remember, you walked through this already before this meeting. You knew that you were going to think on this stuff already. Almost every time these numbers are different than you expect. Almost every time they're different. It doesn't matter because it's not perfection. We're just looking for progression here. But the actions, 2 out of 3 of them you should have already had in your brain. You should have already been thinking that they had to create a dashboard to keep track of the right things to measure. Training the employees came up in the middle of the meeting. Of course, we should do that, but we didn't. In my brain, I hadn't itemized it. In the meeting, it came out. That's good. That's good. Okay, so what's the metric? The metric means, for this BPI, a metric means what are we going to look to as a marker that tells us the actions are actually getting done. So we say we're going to pick the right things, but how do we know we're actually doing that? How do we know we're moving in the right direction? What we're going to do in this senior management team meeting is we're going to get all excited about big money and put some actions on the wall and then go back to our daily action. We're not going to have anything to show for it next week. So we have to have something that's a midway point. Like if this is getting done, then we know we're getting our actions moving in the right direction. That's what we're trying to measure for this paper. And that was create just one. Just create one and ask the senior management team next week if it's the right one. We need several of these. We need several for every position. 1, 2, or 3 for every kind of position. It needs to have things that they measure. And you might want to change these out every quarter. Most companies have an adjustment every now and then because they want to, measure other things. They want to change that philosophy of, okay, now we got that down. We're doing this really, really good, but this over here needs to be, let's do a KPI around this thing. That kind of switch can happen semi-annual or however often. But we're going to start by just bringing one in. We're going to do one, get the senior management team to approve. Who is going to do these 3 things? I'll do it, Matt says. I'll do it, Devin says. Okay. We'll go sign your name. What? Says, well, you told me you'd do it. I'm presuming you were serious, and I want you to go up there and sign your name that you're going to do it. Oh, Rick, just sign my name. I give you authority to sign my name. I don't care. No, I can't do that. Because you have to be in front of your group here, physically signing that you're going to do this so you own that action. Because what's going to happen is if I just put all of us, there ain't going to be nobody of us. None of us are going to do it. We got to commit to doing one of these 3. So Matt came up and he signed his name, and he said, by the 2nd. And this person came up and they signed and they said, I'll have mine done by the 4th. Now, I didn't tell them the 2nd or the 4th. I didn't tell them that. They did that. They said they get it done by then. That's important because now, if they miss, this is where it gets a little bit fun. If they miss their date, and I tell them this, you got to walk on up here with the red marker, and you got to mark through that you screwed up and didn't get it done on time. And then you got to tell us why you didn't get it done on time. And you have to help us believe you that this was a big problem that you couldn't get done on time. And then you got to put a new date on there of when you will have it done. And everyone's going to see for the next 6 months when this paper's on the wall that you had a red one by your name, and they're going to know. When you started out that way, guess what happens? Almost no red markers. Ever. Because they already know they're not going to do that. They don't want to be the first one especially, to do that. They want to know that they hit their numbers. That's important. It's this tiny little shame piece we have in the process, which is healthy to get things moving forward. So that's how you do a BPI. Not super complicated, but psychologically very complicated. Like there's a lot of process in that, in what I did, and asking the questions and feeling it out and validating, do you guys believe this? And what do you think is right? And what are the numbers? And gee golly, I don't know, but maybe this. There's a lot of that because we're not trying to tell them what to do. We're trying to have them decide and discover what they should do and then commit to it with their signature on a certain date. If you do it that way, and you should do it that way, you should do it that way for 1, 2, or 3 KPIs every week. Don't get into 4. I've done 4. It's tedious. It's too much. But do 2 or 3 a week. Every SMT meeting that you have every week, your weekly senior management team meeting, you do 2 or 3 of these. And what does that do? What's that do? You had 5 people in the room, right? You had 4 people in the room, whatever number you have in the room of the senior management team meeting. If you do 1 and you have 1 action, then of the 4 people, 5 people in the room, only one of them is doing anything this week. And the rest are like, whew, I got away from that pretty easy. Now, they won't tell you they feel that way, but subconsciously they'll feel that way. We don't want that. Isn't the purpose of this behavioral change? Aren't we trying to motivate people to change their actions? And isn't this really time sensitive? And we're charging $495 an hour. $500 an hour, if we're not getting the team to move, we're not showing value to our client. We're not being responsible with the good stewards of the money they're giving us. We need to engage their whole team every week, best we can. And the best we can means giving them the opportunity more often to take on more responsibility by their own signature and their own dates and get them doing things different from what they're doing to generate us more revenue and get away from these burning platforms as fast as possible. That's the purpose. It's for the client. It's for their team. It's not for, yeah, Rick, I got 2 done this week. I'm a good consultant. We don't care. What we care is that there's fewer burning platform issues in the company. The client's getting value for their money. The client's getting change fast. Fast money, slow money. We'll go over all this. But the client's getting to their fast money first. The client's getting their team engaged. And maybe we're finding out which team member shouldn't be on the team. That happens. 1 in 3 companies, we got to let somebody go. And this is a way to find out who's really just not on it. So we're doing good work for the client by doing it this way. So let's do it then. Let's not shy away from it. Let's not be cautious or like, you know what, they're not ready. I'm going to go slower. I don't really like. No, screw us. No, the client needs this. That's what it's about. The client first, second, third. That's what we do at Big Advisors. So this is a solid BPI. It's pretty straightforward. KPIs are in every company we need to add. You'll use this in almost every engagement that you go on. In training, we'll go over many more. You'll see them. I have lists of them to go through with you. We have all the deliverables that come into a burning issue summary that we put into the big plans. All those can be, BPIs can be, tangentially related to all of those. I'll help you find them. I'll help you put together good lists of them. I'll help you walk through them ahead of time. Your director will help you with this as well. You'll have lots of help. But in the end, we got to do it because the client needs us to. So thanks for listening, and go get them.